All right, today we're going to be talking about BRC20 tokens, and we're going to talk about, what they are, what it means for the space, and where they could go in the future. So BRC20 tokens, they have seen a huge run up. They essentially went from $0 market cap to just over $1 billion a few days ago. Right now we're sitting at 485 million. Let's refresh it to see it live. Yeah, 485 million. And they have just seen an absolutely huge run up. And so the next question is, are they still going to continue to be doing well? Is there an ecosystem there? And what are BRC20 tokens? So really quickly, we'll go over what are BRC20 tokens. So they're essentially the same as ERC20 tokens on Ethereum, except they're built on the Bitcoin blockchain. And so this is an adoption of the Ordinals technology, which we saw take off a few weeks ago. But those are mainly NFTs. So now they're being inscribed as JSON files, and they're actually doing this on individual Satoshis. So each Bitcoin is made up of a million Satoshis, is divisible by a millionth. And so with the Taproot upgrade a few months ago back to the Bitcoin network, it allowed new technologies and advancements to be made, like allowing certain things to be inscribed on Satoshis. And when I say things, it's because you can do applications, audio, video, text, images, models, and some other stuff. So you can do several things, but you can see that at the beginning it was essentially just images, and there was a run up with some text, but people didn't really start to see these BRC20 tokens until about the beginning of May, and that was when you really saw them take off, and that was when I first heard about them. And so yeah, total inscriptions and daily inscriptions have been going up like crazy, and they made fees also go up like crazy. Before it's $1, $2, $3 to send a transaction on the Bitcoin network. And people are having to pay $15, $20, $25 just to send a transaction, which is not that good if we want to see major adoption, especially in third world countries. Like let's say in El Salvador, people are using it as their everyday currency. They don't want to have to spend $25 to make a transaction. So this poses its own issue to the Bitcoin community, but that's another topic. So we're not going to go too deep into that. But yeah, again, so it is important to keep in mind that these BRC20 tokens are essentially just an experiment. Their creator on Twitter, he put out a tweet, and he said that these are just an experiment. Don't take these seriously. We were just using the technology and seeing what we can make. But obviously, the market's not going to do that. And so they just pumped these tokens, and people made big returns. So yeah, they're essentially the same technology as ERC20 tokens, and they inscribe each Satoshi with the JSON file, which then provides the necessary information for it to essentially act as a token. So when you're doing this, this is what they look like. This is the JSON file. And so this is an example of the deploy, mint, and transfer function. So yeah, there's the protocol name. So there's BRC20, and then you have your operation. So is it a transfer, mint, or are you deploying a token? And then what's the ticker? So what is that for? Letter, word, whatever mixture. And then what's the amount? So what's happening in that transaction, and then also for what amount? And so yeah, Binance has been talking about it. A lot of exchange, Swobi has been talking about it. Crypto.com has been talking about it. And I think that we could see a large influx of capital. And when we see that, BRC20 tokens will take off. So, before I get too ahead of myself, there was some stuff that I want to talk about in this thread by the Smart Ape. Shout out to him. It's a good thread. Yeah, so essentially this is what the text looks like. And then, from here, the one thing that I do like about it is that instead of a smart contract where you run the risk of, hacks, the Ethereum network, what happens with that smart contract? What if there's an error in it? Here, it's a lot more basic, but it's also a lot more safe. And so instead of relying on that smart contract, it's just on each individual Satoshi. So he talks, about, some of the different exchanges and what you can use, but I'm going to go over that myself. But you can see, yeah, he's talking about here, the transaction fees have just absolutely rocketed. And so we'll see how that plays out. And he made a good point right there that, you don't have to use Taproot. You can just use, the Lightning Network. So again, we'll see how that plays out. But we've seen a large influx of inscriptions. And I think, as long as we see this on a somewhat, this is obviously an upwards trajectory, we'll see if more money is brought in. But the number one thing that's, creating an issue right now is that it's hard to access these BRC20 tokens. So I think exchanges have realized this, and they have realized that there is an opportunity, to be had here. So Huobi just announced with Unisat that they are going to be working with them, to implement BRC20 tokens, which is great. So we'll see what happens there. Just ignore that. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. Binance also, there's some rumors that they're going to be accepting BRC20 tokens. And so it's going to create a large influx. And right here, this is the best aggregator, BRC-20.io. You can see all the BRC20 tokens on here. And when we look at Ordi and we look at the markets, so here's the price. It's a little bit janky. I'd rather just use an exchange. But you can see some exchanges have actually already listed it. So you have crypto.com, BKEX, Bing, Tapbit. Personally, I've actually used Tapbit to trade Ordi. I really like it. It's a good exchange. It works in Canada, which is another thing. I'm Canadian. So that's about the best exchange. And they're still doing a lot of volume. So I think that the money is there. But everything happens, in ebbs and flows and waves. So we'll see if this next wave can really push this towards the mainstream. And crypto.com is a pretty big exchange, but we're going to want to see some of the foreign exchanges, bigger exchanges. Ideally, someone like a Binance, Coinbase would be huge, even or Gate.io for some of those, users in foreign countries. We can bring in a large influx of capital. And so I think right now, it's still mainly P2P. So if you want to go buy anything aside from essentially Ordi, you need to go to BRC20, and then you need to actually buy it directly from somebody else. So there's no really order books, there's no liquidity yet. And so this is why I think that there could be a huge opportunity to make some big gains, because as of right now, there's no other way to buy these aside from P2P, which is not user-friendly. It's a barrier to adoption. You need to make a wallet on a protocol you've never really used before. There's a lot of things that are going to scare people away and confuse them. It took me just basically a day to figure out what exchange can I use? What exchange has Taproot withdrawals? And that's Kraken. In Canada, it works really well. We'll get into that in a second. But yeah, so essentially right now it's still just P2P. And if you wanna give him a look, Alex is actually building a BRC20 decentralized exchange. So this will be huge. This is on the Stacks network, which is an L2 on Bitcoin. So that's going to be absolutely huge for adoption. They're going to build up an order book. That's what you want. You want liquidity for these tokens. The one thing, I think there could be a large influx. I think the markets are greedy right now. And this Pepe on here, the BRC20 Pepe, was actually deployed before the ERC20 Pepe that took off to about a $2 billion market cap. So I think that there's a pretty good chance that retail investors are going to want to, get in on this. And once they understand the importance and the technology behind it, I think that we could see another, big adoption flow in the next few weeks. And so that's basically the bet that I'm making. I'm making the bet that more exchanges are gonna, accept BRC20 tokens. People are gonna, have access to them. And yeah, so one of the first tokens that is getting already, it's confirmed that they're getting a listing is Shint. And there's three other here's Pizza, Maxi, and Long. I don't know too much about them. There's not a lot of really big communities or any sort of utility behind any of these tokens except for Shint. So if you want to go check out their Twitter, I would highly recommend doing it. But they have created, their token Shint, and I think that when people come into the space, you always want to question, what's the utility. So again, this is not financial advice. Do your own research. I do own Ordi, and I do also own Shint. But I think that when people come to the space and they try to look for something that has more utility, one of the first projects they'll see is Shint. And so, here's a few big things. One, if ordinals get, built into big exchanges, there'll be a large inflow to capital. So just any overall bets will probably do well. Secondly, I know that there's going to be an exchange listing it, and it has utility, and there's also a burning mechanism. So they are the Sats hunters, and so you can go check out their website. It's actually very, very cool. And so the reason why I really like this this project is that they look through inscriptions, and they look through just overall satoshis. They try to find rare ones, and then they'll auction them off. So for example, an auction they did was the infamous or famous Bitcoin pizza transaction, where it was something like, whatever, it was 5,000 Bitcoins or 50,000 Bitcoins for like two pizzas way back in 2011. And they actually found one of these Satoshis that were in it, in that original transaction. So then they, in their Discord, they have these places where you can make bets. And so then people can then go and use the Shint token. They only accept the Shint token, and then they'll burn it after the auction is done on whatever the Satoshi is. So you can see here they've already burned 90,000 Shints. And so yeah, that's essentially what they're doing over here. And they have some very, very uncommon and rare Satoshis. There's also mathematically rare Satoshis. I know that they have a few of those. And so yeah, overall, I think it's a really good project. I know they have their NFT collection as well. And so you can look through their utilities. And so yeah, I think that they're an overall good team. They're building. You can join their Discord, check out their Twitter. But overall, I think that if you're gonna make any sort of bets, I think that they are a good place to make some bets. In the last 3 days, they've sold 82 inscriptions. They've got some new holders, and it's really active in their Discord. So overall, that's one of my favorite projects right now. And so yeah, again, I do own it, so I'm putting that out there. But I think that they stand a lot to gain if there is a big exchange to be listing it. Yeah, so essentially, Ordinals wallet, they did an airdrop for their original people who participated in buying any sort of NFT ordinal from them. They were a really good team. They hopped on it immediately, and they've done the same thing with BRC20 tokens. And I think that they are going to actually airdrop their own token. And this is why. So on the same day that they made this tweet about something big coming on May the 1st, you can go and see that somebody, I'm hoping it's the team, they created ORDW, so Ordinals Wallet, and they did a $210 million or 210 million supply mint, and it was minted out by a single holder. And so this single entity owns every single one of the inscriptions. And so you think to yourself, why would somebody do this on the same day that they tweeted about it, just for them to own it all to themselves? If somebody wanted to make this, maybe, somebody's going to put the dots together, they would at least be trying to sell and profit from it. And another reason is that Ordinals wallet, they've already done an airdrop. If you go and you check out Pixel Pepe's, it is a floor 0.22 Bitcoin. So that's around 4 or 5 grand that people got for free, and they've already done an airdrop before. So I think it makes sense, and so that's why I think that everybody should go and make a few transactions on the Ordinals wallet. So yeah, that was basically it for today. I just wanted to give everybody an introduction to BRC20 tokens, what they are, that potential airdrop. When I found out about that, huge, could be something, might not be something, future adoption of Ordinals, the technology behind it. So yeah, that was all I wanted to go over today. And the next few days, most likely tomorrow, the day after, I'm going to have another video up on actually installing the wallet, how to make transactions, how to inscribe transactions like people did with Ordinals and Pepe, at the very beginning. And that's how they made that huge returns. And yeah, just overall how to use BRC20 and a step-by-step video. So that should be up in the next few days. Make sure to check out all my other socials and let me know what you want me to go over next. See you in the next video.